When I began my first year as a teacher, I thought I had the bulk of what I needed to be successful. I thought that this is what college was for, and all of those education classes on pedagogy and classroom management and educational theory were about to pay off. Student teaching was a way to sharpen that sword that I'd forged in school, and in my first year as a teacher, I'd be ready to wield it in the classroom. And then my first year as a teacher actually happened. Suddenly, Lev Vygotsky's educational theory was not helping me deal with a student who told me to f*** off. That lesson plan I designed for my college class that was supposed to get my students to stand on their desks like the ones in the Dead Poets Society did fell as flat as my face and my pillow each night after a day in the classroom. In my first year, I felt beaten down by parents, administrators, students, and more than anything else, by myself. I learned that teaching is way too complex to simply master after a few years in college and from well-intentioned textbooks. Looking back at the first few years in the classroom, much of it felt like a train wreck. Of course, there were wins sprinkled throughout, but much of those first couple years were in the trenches, dealing with conflict after conflict. There was no separation between work and my personal life, and I often carried the weight of my students' lives home with me each day. I was constantly buried in papers to grade, and lessons to plan, and emails to respond to. I didn't know how to quiet a classroom or teach a grammar lesson, or even how to keep my classroom organized. But then something happened around year 3. About halfway through my third year in the classroom, I started to finally find a groove. I began to regularly meet with a veteran teacher who taught me this trick about how to get your class's attention without raising your voice. Those notes I'd taken when activities failed came in handy as I revised them and I started seeing students truly engage. I stopped dreading parent-teacher conferences as I learned how to use them as highly effective ways to get parents on board with what I was doing in the classroom. And after a few years of working down in the trenches, I was starting to really grow as a teacher. Every year of teaching has taught me new ways to become a better one. Sometimes I learned tricks from other educators who graciously shared their secrets of the trade. Other times I obtained them from teacher books and professional development. But most of what I've learned has come from experience. I'm talking about failed lessons and heartbreaking moments and shining victories and simply time, which has all given me the most wisdom to use in the classroom. This is why my teacher friend, who's been in this profession for over 40 years, approaches her work with grace and confidence that I can't comprehend even now. She spent the past 4 decades refining her craft and humbly trying to grow every single year. It is through challenges that we grow. So if you are a young teacher and you feel like it's taking everything you have to keep your head above water, know that there was a long line of people who came before you who have experienced the exact same thing. Take heart knowing that wisdom comes from experience much more than textbooks. And the more experiences you have, the wiser you will become. That's just the way it works. And if you're a teacher who's been doing this a while and you feel stuck, like you aren't growing anymore, like the fire and passion has waned, perhaps you need this reminder. You aren't alone in that either. Life is full of peaks and valleys are often hard to be in. We want to always be in the summit where the air is clear and the view is beautiful. However, growth happens down in the valley. Realize the undeniable fact that the greatest wisdom and strength comes through challenges. Sometimes it's about developing this mindset that recognizes that. Not that a growth mindset will instantly make your challenges disappear, but it will help you overcome them. And when that happens, you will be a better teacher.